All right, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thanks for your patience. And we can go ahead and get started. My name is Evelyn Cordero. I'm a well-being specialist. I work in the HR office on the talent development and well-being team. And I want to thank IFAM for inviting me to be here today. I'm here to discuss the different well-being resources that are available here at the university for you and some of your household members and dependents. And I'm also going to share some well-being strategies to help integrate and implement for yourself as an individual and also as a team. At any point, I know we have a ton of folks online. If at any point you have questions, feel free to pop that into chat. We do have that being monitored. Q&A, sorry. Q&A, we have that. At the end, we'll have time for Q&A, but you can pop in questions into chat at that time, or if anything comes up, again, it'll be monitored and we'll address it then. All right, so with no further ado, we're actually going to start with a well-being practice. This is how I start most meetings. If you're ever in a meeting with me, it's very likely we're going to integrate a well-being practice. And after having a little bit of difficulty today, I think it's well-deserved that I'm going to invite you, it's totally optional, just to perhaps close your eyes or turn off your video if you have your video on and take 3 deep breaths in whatever way feels right for you. So let's just take a moment. And in 3, 2, 1. All right. So hopefully that was a nice grounding practice just to help get us settled for this presentation, just being in this space virtually and in person together, and just settled and aware and ready for the information that's going to be shared today. All right, so well-being, what is well-being? What is the definition? And actually there isn't a consensus around a single definition. However, there is an agreement that at the very minimum, there is a presence of positive moods and emotions, therefore the absence of negative moods and emotions. And overall, you have positive satisfaction and functioning with your everyday life and day-to-day actions. With that said, taking a moment to recognize well-being here at the university. These are 8 different dimensions of wellness or well-being that the student side actually recognizes, and my office, we recognize this as well, and really exciting. We're updating our websites. We're currently in the middle of having our website updated so that in mid-March, you will see all of these 8 dimensions visible and resources attached to each dimension. And the resources that are shared per each dimension are resources that are NU resources that are available to you. And I'm not going to go deeply into the 8 dimensions. I did share out the PowerPoint, and you will be able to click on a lot of these slides and this graphic, and you can learn about the 8 dimensions that are available through the student side. But again, in March, you're welcome to look at our HR website and learn a little bit more about each of the dimensions. But I do want to mention in regards to dimensions, they're all interconnected. So when one dimension is off, it's very likely that it'll affect another dimension, not always, but it typically does. And just being mindful that when it comes to well-being, it's very individualized. It looks different for all of us. These are the foundational parts of it. However, physical well-being is going to be different for all of us in regards to what it feels like, what it looks like, and what we do to take care of ourselves physically. And it's really helpful to learn different bits and pieces of information and then adapt that in a realistic way for yourself. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about stress, because stress is real. It's just part of everyday life. And there's different kinds of stress. There's healthy stress, which is eustress, or the green area of our stress curve. And then we have distress. So, more of our middle section. And perhaps when we're coming to the burnout section, where it's more unmanageable. Again, coming back to stress. So it's always going to be there because we need a little bit of stress just to keep us on par, keep us going, keep us motivated. Things like deadlines, different goals to work towards. And being mindful that when we are experiencing distress and or burnout, being able to recognize it and tapping into your wellness or your well-being toolbox in regards to get yourself back over to the healthier eustress. One thing I want to mention in regards to burnout, So it is typically really hard to recognize you're on your way to burnout. Normally you don't recognize burnout until you're there. You're like, oh, I'm really burned out. Okay. Good for you for recognizing it, because that is the key into moving yourself back. Even if you're moving yourself back into that orange zone, that's okay. It is better than being in that burnout zone. And just being mindful. When I talk about strategies, I'll talk about pausing a little bit in regards to perhaps as you start to integrate or just tap into your wellness practices or well-being practices or toolbox, perhaps you might be able to start recognizing when you're on your way to burnout. So that when you're like, I'm starting to feel like burnout's going to happen, it's coming up. Okay, let me pause. Let me access resources or different strategies to stop that burnout from happening and to pull me back into healthy stress. And again, I'll talk about more resources and strategies in regards to that. So diving into our resources, before I get into that, actually, I just wanted to share a quick update because as I mentioned, so our well-being HR website is being updated. With that update, we have a brand called Your Life that you may or may not be familiar with. If you are familiar with it, hooray. And if you're not, that's okay because the brand is being retired. So when you see that update or those updates on the website, I just wanted to share that because some of the programs, like we have Your Life nutrition consultations, we have a Your Life weekly events email. None of that is going away. It's just that brand is going away and there's going to be some name changes. So I just wanted to share that as a general FYI with you all. So in regards to resources, everything is hyperlinked. So you can, when you receive this PowerPoint after the presentation, you can go ahead and click on these if you want to learn a little bit more. Also, you can reach out to me at any single time. I am here for you. I'm happy to meet with you on a one-on-one and just go over any of these resources. But resources that are available, so we have virtual well-being breaks. These are live 15 and 30-minute movement breaks that are available Monday through Friday. We've partnered with Northwestern Recreation, and we have a different schedule every single quarter. And all employees can access that. And this quarter, we actually launched a YouTube channel where there's on-demand well-being practices. So there's meditation recordings, stretch recordings, yoga, different types of yoga recordings. And we are going to be adding recordings every quarter. We were actually just talking about next quarter. We're actually going to add some office stretches, recordings that'll be available for you. And we're going to continue to ramp up the stretching recordings that are on there. We also, I mentioned, we have nutrition consultations that are available. So these are virtual. These are one-on-one. These are free consultations that are available. They're 30 minutes. It's with a registered dietitian, Vicki Shanta Rentley. You can meet with her unlimited. Your family members can use this too. So my mom, we've been able, my mom and I have jumped on Zoom for a nutrition consultation with her. She has some GI issues going on and we were able to utilize that service. Again, so you can meet with her as often as you like, as long as you're not no-showing. We just ask that, you be mindful of that. She has available the first 3 Fridays of every month for about 6 hours. So essentially you can meet with her once a month if you wanted to. We also have a wellness grants program, which Feinberg folks and departments have applied for. So this is a program that it is a grant program where we have folks can apply for up to $500 for a wellness activity, event, anything that suits the need of your group or department that's applying. Affinity groups can apply for this too. Essentially, the main parameters that you're a group that's applying for this funding. The grant cycles open every single quarter with the exception of summer quarter. And things that have been funded. So there was a group, a Feinberg group who did imperfect produce deliveries once a week. And then at the end of their 10 weeks of delivery, they had a chopped smoothie contest where they utilized those items in the package and, had created healthy smoothies. There's been other groups where we funded transportation and lunch where they volunteered at Lincoln Park Zoo. Massages are hot ask, and some are funded, some are not. I will share with the grants. We do have a pool of $2,000 every quarter. So we typically receive about 15 applications. We essentially fund about 4 applications. And we do ask for some data pieces with those, with the application in regards to, yes, we know massages are great for you, but why do they help with your wellness and well-being? So those are the things that those are the applications that tend to be stronger. If you have questions, you're welcome to reach out to me. The application for winter is actually open right now, and the application closes next Friday on the 6th. We also have our employee assistance program, which actually I have some slides dedicated specifically to that. But in regards to the employee assistance program, so essentially these are mental health services and benefits that are available to you that are free and confidential, and also to your household members. So roommates are included too. Anyone who lives in your house, you all affect each other's well-being, and we want all of you to be well. So anyone can access it. Again, I'll go into those details a little bit deeper. There's also a faculty wellness program that is sponsored by the provost office, and it is overseen by 2 Feinberg faculty members. And essentially, if any faculty members are in need where you're just, feeling some distress or burned out, or just your wellness is at risk, you can just reach out. And Dr. G and Dr. Jason, they will essentially do an assessment and provide different resources that are available for you as a faculty member. Mental Health First Aid is a program that my office provides. It is an evidence-based program that was developed by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. Essentially, participants are trained on how to notice different signs and symptoms of mental health challenges, and how to provide support for someone. None of us are diagnosing because none of us are clinicians unless you are. However, this program more so is how do you recognize and just support and provide support to connect someone to support. And that's essentially what that is. There's trainings available every single month. So feel free, again, everything is hyperlinked, and we alternate our trainings between Evanston and Chicago campus every other month. And another resource that's available in regards to mental health in crisis, this is sponsored through Religious and Spiritual Life. They have chaplains that are available, and they do have a trained background where they're able to provide different support in regards to counseling in a sense, but it's open to all employees and students. So they have different scheduling options that are available online that you're welcome to utilize and go look at. And just an FYI, we have mental health days that are built into our incidental sick time policy. So when you click on that square, when you receive this, there's some information on our HR website about that. So via NUSAC, our Northwestern Staff Advisory Council, I was on it a few years ago, and this was an initiative that I helped work on. So essentially it was, we have our sick days, and let's be able to empower folks and allow folks to take time off for a mental health day as well. So essentially, if you're having a moment where you're feeling really burned out, you're at that burnout zone and you're like, I just need a day off to regroup, you can take a sick day for that. And when you're taking a sick day, you don't need to say anything else besides I'm taking a sick day. You don't need to disclose it's a mental health day. If you have that relationship with your manager and it's helpful to disclose, I have a really good relationship with my manager, it may be helpful for me to disclose that in regards to then when I return from my one day off just to address my burnout, perhaps she's asking me some questions or putting some additional supports in place just to ensure that I'm able to get back on track. So just keep that in mind that those are there, and our time off, it's part of our salary. So don't leave that on the table. We also have a Wellness Champions Committee. And we have quite a few Feinberg folks on the Wellness Champions Committee. I oversee our committee. We meet virtually once a month. Essentially, these are folks who are advocates and champions of wellness and well-being. They're my go-to group. Whenever there's new updates that are coming down the pipeline, they are the first ones that are aware of it. They're also, I look to them as a focus group. I might say, hey, I'm hearing these things are coming up throughout the university. What are you hearing? Here's what I'm thinking about, maybe programs or resources to help address it. What do you think? So if you're interested, I recommend that at least every department have at least one wellness champion, part of the group, just so that you're in the know about what resources are available here at the university and what's happening. Again, you just attend the meetings virtually. If you can't attend, you read the meeting notes. And then about once a quarter, we get together in person just for like some social connectedness, just for some fun. And just a reminder in regards to connectedness, again, in groups, we have our staff affinity groups here at the university. You're likely familiar with them, but if you're not, I invite you to take a look at the different groups that exist here at the university, just so you have that other social support and connection here at the university. In addition to that, there also are faculty organizations or groups that are available for faculty members as well. So again, just planting the seed and encouraging that you connect with others outside of your units and your departments here at the university. And And FYI, in regards to those of you who utilize, who are on our health insurance plan, our Blue Cross and Blue Shield, so they have a partnership with quite a few programs called Health Partners, in which these are digital programs in regards to diabetes management, weight loss or weight management, heart disease management, and musculoskeletal issues. And these are free programs that you essentially take an assessment for. And if you qualify for it, most of these programs, a handful of these programs provide a health coach that you're linked up with and free devices. So essentially, if you qualify for one of the diabetes management programs, they provide free Lancets, a free monitor. That biometric information goes back to your coach, and you're able to work with your coach just to help keep your health on track in regards to diabetes management. The musculoskeletal one is really cool. It's basically like virtual physical therapy. You get a wearable device, you get a tablet, you get different exercises that you do, and you get a coach along with that as well. Also with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, they have a fitness program that's available. Essentially, it is a membership. It is a nationwide membership to a variety of gyms. They have 4 different packages from like $20 to $100 that you can sign up for. And then you can participate or go to these different gyms that are part of those different packages. With that said, because we're on Chicago campus, and I recognize, and I was just talking to Recreation today about some Chicago fitness space. Just for some background, we've assessed and we've looked. I've been in this role for 6 years, and actually I was a Feinberg research assistant staff member for 2 years before that. So we did this early on, and essentially at the moment we were not able to identify space that is like safety, that meets safety requirements. However, the procurement office has partnered with Fitness Formula and the Chicago Park District, Lakeshore Park, which is right across from the law school, so that you can access their gyms. It's discounted gym membership programs that are available for you all. And just a reminder, in October, the benefits office, they created a partnership with PerkSpot. So PerkSpot is a discount program that's available. You log into MyHR, you look at the benefits tile, and essentially these are different discounts that are available for you and your family members. They have sporting events, they have hotels, you can buy a car at a discount, your cell phone bills, gym memberships at a discount, nutrition services. So it's just a reminder that there are different, when you're maybe going to make a big buy or maybe a little buy, consider looking at the discounts that are available and there for you. And just a reminder that it doesn't replace a wild card, but we have wild card discounts that are available. You're likely perhaps well versed with it, but essentially, maybe when you're here on campus, if you're finding that you're purchasing a meal out or something, or nearby, ask them if they use their wild card discount and get a discount from, utilize it however you best can. And then some information about NU Cares. So this is a program for, it's sponsored by NUSAC, by the Northwestern Staff Advisory Council. So this is an emergency financial crisis fund for our employees. So essentially, if someone's experiencing a catastrophic medical event or a medical event where they need assistance, they can apply for up to $1,000 of funding. It is for benefit eligible employees who are in good standing here at the university. So those are not all the resources that are available per se, but I just wanted to make sure that I'm providing some of the most important resources that are available here to you at the university. If you have questions about them, we'll have time at Q&A, but also you can always reach out to me at any point. But as I mentioned, I wanted to talk about the Employee Assistance Program because in October, we transitioned from Humana EAP to SupportLink EAP, and there were some big changes and wins with them, which I will talk about. But just before I go into that, just sharing the different the points of contact or access for SupportLink. So as mentioned, the EAP or SupportLink, typically it is a network of mental health services, and they have a ton of different well-being services that are resources and services that are available as well. Again, for all our employees and your household members. And everything is free and it's confidential. I'm actually the point person for our EAP. So if you have questions, you reach out to me. All data that's received is an aggregate. You can call 24/7. You can go online, and when you go online, you'll create an account. You'll just do it one time where you'll have to enter that group code. And you can use any email address. You can use a personal email address. You can use your Northwestern. It really doesn't matter. And then you can also download the app and create your account that way as well. So as mentioned, some big wins for us with this new EAP, or Employee Assistance Program, is when you call in, the person that you're talking to on the phone, they are a licensed mental health clinician. So if you need support in that moment, they can provide support for you in that moment. And then they will ask you a few questions to do essentially an assessment or an intake assessment. And based on it, they'll provide different personalized recommendations in regards to resources and services they have available, as well as resources that are available here at the university. And what's really nice is a care advocate will provide their contact information. So should you have to follow up with them, you're not telling your story over. You're just like, hey, Joe, I spoke to you last time. They can look up, they can look up your case or whatever you shared via your name, and you can just move forward that way if you're trying to access additional resources. The hallmark program of EAPs, or Employee Assistance Programs, is essentially short-term counseling. Here at Northwestern, you are able to access 10 free counseling sessions per every life issue that occurs. So if you're like, I'm feeling really burned out right now, I just don't know what to do, reach out, you can use your 10 sessions. Maybe next quarter, you're like, I'm having a lot of sleep disturbances, or I'm having relationship issues. Reach out, use your 10 sessions again. We used to have a different model previously, but this is the model that we've had for quite some time here at the university. And just some FYIs, when you do call in, they will ask about your health insurance, but you don't have to provide it. But the reason they do ask about our health insurance is that if you essentially need to go beyond your 10 counseling sessions, they've already matched you with a provider who accepts your insurance, so that when you go to session 11, you're not finding a new provider, you're not retelling your story, you're just moving on with your provider. But again, if you want to decline that, you absolutely can. And what is really big and new for us as well is when they provide a referral for a mental health clinician or provider, the referral, that person has guaranteed availability. So that appointment is there and it's open and it's ready for you. The sessions can be virtual or they can be in person. Also, you can request providers by specialty, gender, language, ethnicity, etc. The provider pool for support link, they speak over 60 different languages. And if you reach out and they can identify a provider who speaks that language, reach out to me, and then I can request that for you and help to get you serviced. Typically, when you reach out, you will have your first appointment within the first 2 to 3 days. And the care advocate, they will help to schedule that first appointment for you. They only help to schedule the first one, and then after that, you work with your provider to schedule the following appointments. And you can discuss a variety of different issues that come up in regards to your mental health or your mental well-being. There are additional services that are available. I'm not going to go deeply into them. Rather, I hyperlinked flyers about all of them. But these are other services that are available. They have text coaching. So if you don't want to meet with a clinician in person, you can send text messages, you can send voice notes, and you can work with a provider that way for up to 10 weeks per issue. Also, they have a digital support group where you can address a variety of issues: sleep disturbances, grief, stress, anxiety, etc. With the digital support group, essentially you log in, it is in a webinar format where you can't see one another, but you can see the clinician, and you choose an avatar. So essentially you have your anonymity that's available there. Anemo is a digital self-directed cognitive behavioral therapy program that's available through them. You log in, you take an assessment. Based on the assessment, they have about 5 different modules, and then might say, hey, maybe you want to consider taking the module on anxiety. And then you can interact with it as much or as little as you want. It has different like homework or supportive assignments that are available should you choose to utilize that. Otherwise, you can simply just use the modules. They also provide work-life referrals. So essentially, maybe you're doing home repairs, you're going on a vacation, childcare referrals, things of that nature. You need help with identifying different resources and providers, reach out to them and they can provide some referrals. The childcare or maybe even senior care referrals does not replace the resources that we have in place here at the university. My teammate, Angelica Viramontes, is a dependent care specialist. And she can provide information and resources that are available in regards to childcare needs and senior and adult caregiver needs. And I mentioned a ton of different resources and programs that are available through Support Link. And you're like, this is really great. I have no idea where to start. You can start with the Mental Health Navigator. It's just like a little quiz or an assessment. You enter some information and then it'll just share some results in regards to here's some resources that might best serve your needs. And then lastly, through Support Link, there are a variety of different work-life trainings that are available. They have a catalog of over 50 different trainings or topics or seminars, and different departments and schools can go ahead and request those trainings. And those are 1-hour sessions, in person or virtual. So well-being strategies, just going to mention a few in regards to just helping to take care of yourselves and your teams. So earlier I mentioned perhaps pausing. So just, perhaps just taking a purposeful or a mindful moment to actually just pause and check in with yourself. I provided some prompts, not that whatever feels best for you is fine, but perhaps when there's moments where you're like, I'm not feeling well, I feel like I need to address my well-being, taking that moment just to pause and just kind of assess and check in with yourself. What do I need? How do I feel? Perhaps you're feeling great and that's amazing. So what are you going to continue to do to stay on this, to continue feeling well? However, if you're like, I need to address it, what am I going to do to just get myself through the day or through this moment? And taking some moments just to pause and reflect more in the long term. So perhaps you're like, this has been a really stressful quarter. I don't know if it's sustainable next quarter. At the end of the quarter, step back, reassess. What went really well? What is it that made me stressed out or burned out? What can I do? What is my game plan for next quarter? Maybe to help address this and move forward. And with that, as you're checking in with yourself, honoring your needs, long-term or short-term. So you're like, you know what? I'm just not feeling well, feeling really burned out, really tired. Perhaps you're like, I just need to move. I need to get away from my workstation and I need to get up and move. I need to honor myself by taking my full 1-hour lunch break and getting away and unplugging and removing myself. And let's say that's your strategy. You remove. Did that make you feel better? Likely, yes. Likely you feel refreshed. Likely you feel better able to tackle whatever else is beyond the, coming beyond the day for you. And recognizing that maybe that's a strategy you're going to implement more regularly, that you're just going to stick to just to keep yourself going. Nourishment can be, have I eaten today? Do I need to eat something? But also nourishment can be like for your mind or soul. Like what makes me feel good? Like what is going to make me feel better? Maybe I want to give back to someone. I mentioned breaks, just, is it a break that maybe you need? Maybe you just need some connection. Maybe you're just feeling a little bit lonely and you're like, I need to connect with someone. Maybe it's a matter of asking for help, which can be really hard to do, but, just again, honoring whatever comes up for you, pausing, honoring it, and then giving yourself that permission. We tend to be a lot kinder to others versus ourselves. So when we're thinking about how do we feel, what are we going to do to take care of ourselves, actually just saying, yes, it is okay. Like I feel empowered. I'm going to go ahead and go for my walk. It is okay if I walk away. How would we speak to our loved ones or a close friend and extending that same grace, love, and kindness to yourself because you deserve that. So here are a couple of pausing techniques or strategies that ideally, maybe if pausing is a little bit difficult or you kind of need a little bit more of a framework, essentially, this just provides a little bit of what I went over, just pausing, thinking about what is it that I need, how am I going to organize everything and then move forward. And I really love HALT. I'm pretty sure all of us at some point in our life, you felt hangry. So it's like, maybe I have not eaten in 6 hours. I need some water and I need a meal. And that is going to be suffice for getting you through the day or getting you through whatever that moment is. Perhaps you're feeling angry about something. Okay, how am I going to address this? Is it reflecting? Is it talking to this person? Is it maybe reaching out for the EAP for additional support? Maybe lonely, maybe you're tired, maybe you haven't been sleeping very well. Okay, what's my game plan for my sleep hygiene? Maybe I'm gonna unplug 1 hour before bed. Maybe I'm gonna make sure my room is really dark so that I can maybe sleep a little bit better. Maybe you're like, I have no idea what to do. You can reach out to the EAP and they can talk to you and help you through that and help coach you through that. So now I want to talk about how do we nurture team well-being? So there's different strategies and just sharing a few that are available, but ideally, creating some well-being norms within your team. What does a healthy team look like? So again, this, just sharing, planting some seeds in regards to some strategies. One thing that has been really helpful for my team, so we review and assess our yearly and project goals regularly, at least once a quarter. What are our FY23 goals? Why are we doing the work that we do? It helps to keep us on board, but also a lot of times things come up, right? Fires come up and it's like, oh no, I have to push this down. I have to push this down to address this right now. But essentially, if you're able to focus on like, what is our main goal? Perhaps that helps to frame on, okay, maybe we can say no to that. Maybe that's something that we'll docket for FY24, or maybe, yes, it is something we have to address right now. And that project that we're working on, we're going to have to change that deadline out to another 6 weeks. So it just helps to create some boundaries amongst your team so that you all ideally are on the same page and you all are not feeling overwhelmed. Scheduling weekly deep work or blackout time. So for example, my team on Tuesday mornings for the first half of the day before lunch, it's blackout time, and the last 4 hours of Friday is blackout time. So essentially for us, this is the opportunity where we can do deep work. Ideally, it's uninterrupted deep work. And it looks different for every person. And I'll talk about it. I have this in a slide, the next slide or another slide. I'll talk about it in a little bit more detail about creating parameters around that for you all. Including agendas for all meetings sounds so simple, and it really is. And it is really helpful. And if you don't have an agenda for a meeting, sometimes it can create unwanted angst and create like, why are we here? What is going on? It creates organization. It also allows, the opportunity where maybe somebody might have to decline a meeting because they are working on a deadline for something and they're like, okay, this is not something I'm directly involved in right now at the moment. I can debrief with my manager at our next one-on-one, or I can debrief with my teammate later. And it just provides that space to recognize if you need to step back. It allows you that space to step back, and it creates that organization for all. So something really simple to include. Regular check-ins too, a daily pulse. I will show you an example of what that is. Again, a lot of things sound very simple, but if you're having a regular check-ins, likely most teams and managers do, and keeping it consistent. There was a point at my life in a career where it was notoriously our team meetings were canceled every single time. And it created a culture that was not a good culture for our team. It was like the running joke. It was like, oh, the team meeting is going to be canceled. We're not going to talk about these things. So it just, again, created an unhealthy team culture. So just being really mindful of having those regular check-ins with one another. Integrating well-being practices into your workplace routine, stepping away, doing different things as a team or in meetings. I started the meeting with a breathing practice. Use the slide. Use any practice that you see fit. Integrate it into your team meetings or into your one-on-ones with folks. This hyperlink provides a PowerPoint deck of different practices that you can pull in and pop into any PowerPoint. And you can always reach out to me. I oversee that PowerPoint deck, and you can reach out to me with any questions or suggestions. I'm always happy to add to it. Establishing communication norms. Communication is really big in regards to just having a healthy team. What are your after hours etiquette? I have a teammate who works best at night at 9 o'clock. We never receive emails from this person. However, a strategy is drafting an email and saving it as a draft. And then in the morning, you send out all your emails. You look like the most productive person at 8 o'clock in the morning, but you've gotten your work done. But like, what are these parameters for you all? And the blackout and deep work expectations or the parameters. So for my team, our parameters are, we don't schedule meetings with each other. However, we are all entitled to utilize that blackout time however we see fit. So if I decide I want to schedule meetings during that time, that's fine. But we just will not communicate with one another unless needed. There's different, sometimes you might need to. But essentially, what are those guidelines around that, and sticking to it. And sticking to it, if you're noticing someone is not sticking to it, just being gentle, being like, hey, we said we're going to have these guidelines. It's really helpful if we all are really consistent with it. Communication preferences in regards to this, the way you all communicate. There's so many ways to communicate these days, but what works best for you all? So I did share a tool. Anyone who's been part of manager foundations, you've likely used the user manual. And if you have not, I invite you all just to open it up, take a look at it. Essentially, it's a one-page sheet, two-sided, where you just share different things about what are your strengths? When do you work best? When I'm really stressed, you will notice A, B, or C. I communicate best this way. I receive feedback best this way. So for all teams, I suggest that you just take a look at it and perhaps use it at a next team meeting or over a few team meetings. My team, we tend to look at it every quarter because things change over time. Here's the daily pulse that I mentioned. In regards to regular or daily check-ins. So my team, we have our Teams channel. We used Polly, which is one of the apps that are available via Microsoft. So essentially at 8:30 every morning, we have a daily check-in. It closes at 11:30. It has 3 questions. The word or phrase that best describes my physical energy today is, we select it. You can elaborate in the open text spot if you want to. Which face captures my current emotional state? And what are my big rocks for today? So today my big rocks are delivering my IFAM presentation and having my team time meeting. And I had other meetings. So that's essentially what I would likely write in my big rocks. Here's an example of what it looks like once we've responded. So, we get to see kind of like, here's where folks are feeling energy-wise, here where folks are feeling emotionally. And what I really find helpful for myself, if I have a colleague who's neutral or kind of in that sad phase, if I have a request of them that's like a really minute request, I might save that email request for a following day. I'm like, you know what? Today's not a great day for them. I'm just going to hold on to it because it's not something that's really timely right now. Again, here's our big rocks. Here's what folks are working on today. This is optional for our team. And it's just really helpful when we all do it on a regular basis and we're really consistent with it. So just sharing the seed, you're absolutely welcome to create a poly based on this if it's helpful for your team. So nurturing team well-being, just to wrap it up, role modeling well-being is really big because we can talk about well-being until our face is blue, but if you are not actually engaging in well-being, or others may not feel comfortable to engage as well. So, just if you're going to adopt or integrate different practices, being really consistent about that. You're going to have well-being practices open up every meeting. Perhaps you're going to share a different resource at every meeting just to help encourage folks, and just being your authentic self. Yes, we are here. We have our roles while we're here at the university. However, we have different identities. I have a toddler. She's amazing. And sometimes I was just sharing, she has a cold. Last week, she was up for an hour and a half in the middle of the night. I also helped to take care of my parents who are aging. And I had a really rough day. So it's like my manager or someone said, how are you doing? I'm like, you know what? Last night was really rough. But it's okay. Like, I'm going to get through this, but it's just like being able to be open and authentic with just who I am. And it just makes the workplace a lot healthier and a lot easier just to engage and interact with one another. Taking time off, I already mentioned it. It is part of your salary. Do not leave that on the table. The really beautiful part that I really like about our workforce update, which is our timekeeping update, you can take time off in increments of like 30 minutes. When we had Chronos, the previous timekeeping system, when you took time off, it could only be a half day or a full day. So perhaps you're a person who has this vacation time built up and you're like, you know what? Every Friday, I'm going to get off a couple hours early, because you have that ability in workforce to schedule 2 hours off. I know it tends to be something that's a lot of teams or departments do what's called summer Fridays, where they do log off early, maybe an hour or two summer quarters, because it tends to be a little bit slower. But just considering, what are you going to do to take care of yourselves? And if you're a manager, talking about that openly with your team, because they will be much more empowered and encouraged to do the same. Acknowledging what is within your control. We have all maybe been there where like, oh, only if so-and-so could do it this way, it would be great, but that's not within our control. It's what is within our control in regards to our team well-being, just being there to we can support others. We can have that role. However, what is within our control, what is within our responses, our reactions, and our responses can be like, here are some supports I learned about that are available. But yes, we can control ourselves, and that is it. And just acknowledging, again, we're whole persons, giving ourselves that grace. We are whole people, and we're just doing the best that we can, and that is okay. So just an FYI, if you're like, this is really great, there's a ton of resources, I want to learn more, every Monday, send out an events email that says, here's what's happening this week. Here's what's coming up for the week. Hopefully, most of you receive this, hopefully. And if you don't, that's okay, but feel free to sign up just so that you can have some timely information available to you or accessible to you. And Q&A. So a lot of info, sorry, thanks. So any questions? I don't know if we want to start virtually or in person. Oh. Yep. So I was asked, and I'm going to repeat because I know folks are virtual. If I can go back to the slide for support link, the one that had like the QR code. Yeah, cool. Yep, feel free. Awesome. Any other in-person questions? Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for this presentation, Evelyn. And with support link, can you just, it seems like just a robust set of resources and services for us. Can you remind me if this is also for members of the household, the support link?
Yep. Yeah. And children too. So they have therapy or counseling services that are available for children. It is a little bit more specialized where like maybe you're looking for, some type of just, support. Maybe it's like some type of therapy for a 2-year-old, which is a little bit more specialized. So it might be a little bit more difficult to find. But there are services of teens. They have some teen resources that are available. And I don't think I'm going to update the website, the PowerPoint to include teen resources. But yeah, all household members can use it. If your parents are living with you, if you have an aunt or uncle, again, roommates. Yeah.
And a follow-up question there is, do we have, I know that this is rather new with our transition support link. Do we have, is our staff and faculty utilizing the service?
Yeah, yes. So I got our quarter one report, which actually was really good. Our utilization rate was at 9%, which may not sound like a lot, but for an EAP, typical usage is like 3 to 4%. Northwestern has been on a higher trend in general, like pandemic wise. However, we do a lot of targeted communications around the EAP. And I will share, so for the quarter one, we had 254 folks utilize the EAP. And of the 254, 253, those short-term counseling issues were resolved within those 10 sessions. So it was about a 99% resolution rate.
So there's not a lot of open questions right now. There was a question about the mental health first aid training and how you sign up. I shared the link.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk a little bit more about that, I think that's of interest.
Yes, absolutely. So those are, we have a, under the well-being website, you will see well-being programs that are available. And one of the tiles is mental health first aid. So essentially that website has, here's what mental health first aid is. Here are things that are involved. Which the involvement piece as a participant, essentially you do have to do some pre-work ahead of time where we provide access. So mental health first aid, they use a platform called Connect. Via Connect, you are provided with an electronic mental health first aid manual and modules. You have to complete these modules beforehand. It's about 2.5 hours of pre-work, but you can start and stop at any point and finish it up whenever you like. And that pre-work, essentially, it is an overview of mental health first aid and an overview of the different mental health illnesses and challenges that folks experience. So what is depression? What are signs and symptoms that go along with it? How can it be treated, et cetera? And then, and then you come in for the all-day training. It is from 9 to 4:30 p.m. We provide a light breakfast and some lunch. And essentially, then we go over the mental health first aid action plan. So how do you provide, so just like CPR, regular, CPR for the heart, essentially the mental health first aid action plan is mental health first aid CPR. So what is that framework and action plan? And then how do you apply it when you're noticing different signs and symptoms? On the website that I mentioned initially, you just scroll down to the very bottom and you'll see registration information. And our website is frozen right now due to the updates I mentioned that are happening earlier. So if you receive the weekly events email, there's information about a March 21st training, but also reach out directly to me. And if you look in my HR Learn, actually, you can look in my HR Learn, type in mental health first aid, and you'll see the trainings that are available.
Are there any resources for estate planning and end-of-life care decisions, wills, trusts, advanced directives? This life stage seems to be less talked about and under-resourced.
Thank you. That's a great question. I'm not aware of any. Well, through care.com, which I didn't mention, care.com is the university pays for a membership for every single employee. So essentially you have access to the premium care.com membership. And through care.com, they do have some of these materials or resources available in regards to you want to plan a will or end of life decisions. And if you go on the website, and I can provide the link for the care.com and some of these services that are provided. We have access to unlimited telephonic consultations with a senior care plan advisor, and these are licensed clinician social workers who can talk to you about adult and senior care options that are available, and your family members can utilize the service as well. So essentially, I'm a sandwich caregiver. I mentioned I help with my parents, and my sister helps me too. So essentially, if my sister wanted to call in, she could. If my sister and mom wanted to call in, they could call in together. And we also have a dedicated senior care specialist here at Northwestern, where she hosts virtual monthly support groups that are available. And she hosts a virtual one-on-one consultations if you want that virtual one-on-one support.
There's no other questions, but I did want to mention to everybody in the room and online that Evelyn has shared her presentation with us. I will send it out to everybody who registered. Her presentation has links to everything. She's like, all those tiles have links out, so you'll be able to get all of the resources she talked about. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you all. Reach out to me if you have any questions.